Hey, and welcome to the Systems Boutique podcast. I'm Dr. Ramona H. Lawrence. Most people just simply call me Dr. Ramona. I'm your systems stylist and your business operations expert, and I'm here to help you build a high-end boutique style back-end that creates ease and scalability for you without sacrificing the luxury experience your clients absolutely deserve. So if you're a speaker, a coach, a consultant, a course creator, or author who's ready to stop the overwhelm, ditch the tech confusion, and finally streamline your systems and operations, you are in the right place. Each week, I'll bring you actionable strategies, expert insights, and behind-the-scenes business systems and operations insights to help you scale with ease, efficiency, and absolute excellence. So grab your notebook, your favorite cup of coffee or tea, and let's get to work. Welcome to the Systems Boutique, where systems meet style. Hey, welcome back to the Systems Boutique podcast. And we have the wonderful Toki Simmons back in the boutique once again to style your finances. Ladies, we are moving from being afraid of our finances, from ignoring those profit and loss statements like we talked about last week, from not listening to the story. We are moving in to profitability. We are going to pay ourselves, and we are being supported in that journey by Toki Simmons. So Toki, welcome back to the boutique as always.
Yeah, glad to be back. I'm excited about this one. Let's do it.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about profits over pretty, because we love our branding. We love our visibility. We love to look like we're making money, but we actually want to be making it. We want those profit and loss statements to line up. We want receipts for our businesses so that we are in full alignment with who we are portraying ourselves to be. So let's talk about how to actually make and keep money. And so what's the difference? Let's put some terminology out here to get us started. The difference between revenue, profit, and cash flow, and why that even matters to us.
Okay. So revenue is what comes in. Okay. Profit is what you keep. And cash flow is, let's just say, it's what allows us to breathe. Right. So it's that runway, that cash flow that we have. Why does that matter? It matters because with revenue, you can make as much money as the Lord allows, but profit is the thing that you have left over. And so if I'm making a lot of money, like we said on the last episode, but then I'm spending a lot of money, then I don't really have that profit. So it's important to understand that profit is a major piece of what it is to be successful, because people think because they make a lot of money that they're successful, right? No, that doesn't mean that. And all right, let's back it up, because we're talking about this level of visibility, what it looks like, what I'm wearing, what my brand looks like. All of this is beautiful, right? But it means nothing if you don't have a profit. So if I'm putting all of this money into what I look like and, what my brand looks like, but then at the end of the day, I'm only making $10,000. That's crazy. That's something that we need to look at. We need to not only spend the money, right? Because I'm not saying hoard the money and not spend any at all, but we need to be able to spend money. We need to be able to keep money. And we need that money that's going to help us get through to the next time and the next time, because we talk about levels all the time. And there's this ebb and flow in business. It's not always great, and then there's things that happen. Consumer buying, that changes. Then we get people in administration, that changes. And then the business itself, it could just be seasonal. It could be year end, your biggest time, right? So let's look at commercial sellers like Walmart and things like that. They make their biggest money at the end of the year. You got Black Friday, all of these things, and they're looking to turn their books in the black at the end of the year. And so throughout the rest of the year, they know they have these rocky times. But then if it's Halloween, they know they're going to sell a lot. And if it's Mother's Day, maybe the flower shop knows that's their biggest season. And so we have these ebbs and flows. And so we need to know with our cash flow that, okay, I'm going to be able to get through that season because I've generated enough revenue before this. I didn't spend a lot, so I have enough profit that's going to help me get over these humps or these dry seasons, if you will.
Yeah. And so when we're thinking about understanding the profit and loss and all of that, I think knowing these terms and making sure that we understand those is absolutely essential. And so as we think about then how we're getting that profit and getting the profit enough to where that we can actually pay ourselves, what do we do, especially the people that are in the early stages? So we have some people that listen to the podcast who are newer to business, some who are 250, 500,000 on up. There are different levels. And so as we think about how we set up a business that actually pays you first, how do we do that? Because I know that's something that you are very adamant about and start to think about ourselves. So how do you do that, especially if you're new to business?
Well, how do you do that? Is you start small, because it's all about mindset and it's all about habit. You have to be habitual in paying yourself. Again, when you're working at a job, you expect a paycheck every single week or every 2 weeks, whatever the case may be. You have to take that one mindset into business with you. Mm-hmm. Now, we know that when we own and we run a business, there's a lot of that 9 to 5 mindset that has to go away. But the one thing that we need to keep is that we need to get a paycheck. What the frequency is up to us. I tell everybody, when I get paid? When I cut the check. It ain't a Friday. It's whenever I cut the check. That's when I get paid. And that's the mindset that you have to have in saying that I still have to cut the check. I can't make excuses. Because I can't cut a $5,000 check doesn't mean I can't cut a $500 check. I still need to cut the check. So that's how you start. When it's small, the paychecks may be small. Listen, even when you get to $500,000, $1 million, sometimes the paychecks are small. I have a client right now. He's going through a season. He makes $2.3 million. He only made $70,000 last year. I said, that's unheard of, especially on my watch. We got to change this kind of thing. There's no reason why you shouldn't scale 250. Why not? 10% of what you're grossing. Why not? It's not a big deal. Let's make that happen. But because, again, there weren't systems in place, right? Dr. Ramona, you need these systems in place that things get lost. And they get lost because we're spending and we're spending. Come on, think about it. You're making 2-point-something million. You're spending a lot of money, right? Because it's the first time you've gotten this amount of money and you feel like, well, I have to keep buying more in order to make more. Well, that's not always the case. Again, strategy. It's not always the case, because you may find that, okay, I don't need to spend more to make more. Maybe I just need to elevate whatever it is that I'm trying to offer in services. And it won't take that I need to add 12,000 more people to my payroll. It may not take that. It may mean that you may need to exert yourself a little bit more in hours, possibly, any of those things. In paying yourself, it just needs to be a mindset and it needs to be a habit. So regardless where you are, it's just something that you need to do.
Yeah, that brings me back to the thought of structure. And a lot of my CEOs, they don't like structure. They like the freedom. They like the ability to be the creative, all of that. And so they feel like if I put too many systems in place, if I put too much structure in place, you're going to stifle my creativity. And I say all the time, no, this structure is going to give you the freedom, because like you said, if you're making $2.5, $3 million a year and you can only take $70,000 from that, you're stifling your freedom.
Yeah, for
You
sure.
don't have the structure there. And so we have to have these things in place so that we are able to truly pay ourselves. And I think it's interesting because, you'll see shows like Shark Tank and things like that. And the people are saying, I made $10 million. And the sharks are like, I don't want any part of your business. And it's because all these things, and you're thinking they made $10 million. Like, are you kidding? But it's all of these other things that we have to take into account with that large amount of revenue. How much is going out? Are we really paying it ourselves? Revenue is not always dependent on cash.
Right.
So revenue is dependent on when you actually did the service. So sometimes your revenue and the actual amount of cash you have doesn't line up. Like there's all kinds of things.
Right. Because you can have things in the pipeline and you're including that in, well, I got 20,000 that's supposed to come in, or no, you don't have that on hand. We can't count that.
Yeah. Let's talk about then is what are we doing to fix this? So pricing. Pricing is such an issue in businesses, especially with women and minority business, because a lot of times we want to serve. We want to say, okay, I got to go back to my community and I don't want to feel like I'm giving back and all of these things. And so how do we price the services for actual profit and not just popularity or to make other people feel good about getting it?
There's a couple things that's popping out here. And first of all, if you want to serve, start a nonprofit. You don't want to be in not to say that you can't make a profit in the not for profit, but if you want to serve, really, become a founder. The other thing is we have to understand that when we provide someone with our price, we are providing someone with our worth. You have to let them know that this is what you're worth. You state your price and your price is your price. We don't have to get fat Joe about it, but it just is what it is, right? Like my price today ain't going to be what it is tomorrow. But in saying that, when we are pricing, we need to make sure that we are including our labor, our time, whatever it costs us for this product or service. All of these things need to be inclusive. That even includes if there is a merchant fee, if there is a software fee. Now, we don't want to nickel and dime people, but behind the scenes, in terms of our systems, we need to include all of these things. So, for instance, I had a pricing workshop and I had a trademark attorney come on. And within 3 minutes, she was told that she was only making $5 every time she sold her best product because she wasn't including how much time it took her to deliver that product. She wasn't including the monthly softwares that were needed. She wasn't it was so many things. And by the end of the whole 3 minutes that we went through, because I have this whole spreadsheet, I have the tool. The minute that after we plugged it in, I was like, you're making $4.97 every time you sell this. She's like, what? I'm like, that's it. And she's assuming, like you said, Black woman, she's assuming, well, it's a moderate price. It's something that most people can afford. And this is why I was pricing it this way. Because this is what I asked her. Where did this number come from? How did you come up with? And typically it's because $199 sounds good. $297 sounds good, right? All of these things. Well, $499, like it's something reasonable that people can, and it's a marketing strategy to it as well, that people can buy into and they can buy easily. They can give me a yes easily. Well, a yes easily doesn't necessarily mean money in your pocket. And let's think about the reverse side of this, right? And I'll keep it to the low end products. You can sell a product for $197, but if it's costing you $250 to provide that service, you're losing every single time you sell that product or service. So we have to be mindful about our pricing. We can't allow our pricing to be emotional, right? It has to be business. This is about business. If you're in business to make money, if you're in business to leave a legacy, it can't be about emotion. Again, if you want this to be about emotion, become a founder of a nonprofit. Understand this, because maybe this will help a lot of people. First of all, there's people for everybody. There's buyers for everybody. It may take time to find that pool, but there's a buyer for everybody. You think about Tiffany selling a silver spoon for thousands of dollars. There's a buyer for it, right? But when you price yourself right and you make money, you can become a philanthropist. You can give money away. So if that's in your heart where you want to serve and you want to give, well, make the kind of money that you can be a blessing to people. It's not just about giving up that money on the front end, give it up on the back end.
Yeah, that's good. Good stuff. And so, as we're thinking about that and we're thinking about building and you're thinking about paying yourself, a lot of times it's like, okay, we're the one person working and we've got to bring other people on. And so, as we think about budgeting for things like team, how do you start to say, okay, here's the amount of money that I need, and how do I know when I can bring on another person so that I have enough to be able to pay them? What is the strategy for starting to bring on team?
Start slow. A lot of women business owners, we hire too fast. Then we're broke and broken, and we wonder why. You don't need everybody right now. You can start with somebody in terms of an assistant for 4 hours a week, starting somewhere like that. The key to it is knowing what you need them to do. Be clear. Be clear on what you need from this person. If you're like, every time that you know that you need to create an email, or every time you know that you need to go tweak a contract, or every time that you need to listen, right now, I'm just going to keep it real. I need to fire a client and I need to redo this disengagement letter. It's driving me crazy because I don't have the capacity. Right? I just don't. So I need my assistant to write up this termination letter or disengagement letter. It's the prettier way. But I don't need her 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week. I don't need that. You start small. And that's how you begin to recognize what you can and can't afford. Now, you can say, because we talk about levels, well, I'm just starting out and I'm doing all the things. Well, baby, you may need to be doing all the things when you first start out. Mm-hmm. Okay. One, you need to get your feet wet. You need to understand what works, and you need to understand how it works before you start hiring all these people. Mm-hmm. You need to have some structure and some understanding to how your business works before you go adding people into your chaos. Mm-hmm. Let's be clear with that. Now, how do we budget for that? Well, again, we recognize what we're actually making and what we're actually paying out and what then is left over. So again, we're back to that profit and loss, right? We're looking at that to understand how our money is working for us or how it's working against us. You're reading this. You're not feeling stressed. You're looking at this to give you some information, to give you some data, to be your partner in business. That's what the profit and loss is for. And then you're saying, if I remove this, or if I tweak this, or if I put this on hold, then I can bring in, Rashida or Becky or whoever you need to bring in to help you move to the next level. And again, understanding what they need to help you with before you bring them on. Not just, I don't know, I just need somebody to help me with all of this. Well, what is all of this? What is all of this? Mm-hmm. So being clear on what you need, that will help you determine who you need. And then looking at your financial picture will help you determine what you can afford. Mm-hmm. Because you may not be able to afford somebody like me now, but you may be able to afford me on a project basis. Same for anyone. They may not be able to afford you at your highest package, but they may be able to afford you on, can you come in and just walk me through this process or give me the steps on X, Y, and Z. So knowing what you have and what you can afford and who you need is going to be the strategy.
Yeah, I love this because I think that that's so true, that often we want the higher package. We want the higher service that we can get from somebody, or we want a team member and we can't afford it just yet. And so this idea, and we talked about this a little before, the idea of forecasting and then setting financial goals. And so how do we forecast and set financial goals? And that'll move us right into 2026. We'll end it here talking about, okay, maybe I'm not there yet. Maybe I can't afford Toki yet, or maybe I can't afford the systems boutique at the highest level possible yet. How do we forecast and how do we set those financial goals and get to the point where we can bring in team or we can afford those higher level services that we want?
You said it right there, goals. And then we talked about what we have in the pipeline. And so in business, we have to have a sales strategy, right? So if you're not making those sales calls or if you're not doing your marketing correctly, we don't know what's going to come in. If we're just, okay, well, we're depending on word of mouth, or we're just depending on social media because I posted, they're going to flock, or because I have a website, the whole world's going to know. No, that's not a strategy. So when we're forecasting, we're thinking about what we've made during a certain season. And so let's just say we're going to forecast for the first quarter of 2026. Let's look at what happened in the first quarter of 2025. And from there, we can make some assumptions. Well, if we made $30,000 in the first quarter of 2025, is that something that can be recurring? Can it be something that we can depend on? And if we say yes, then how is it that we made that amount of money in the first quarter of 2025? Because then we have to repeat it. And if we repeat it, can we do it better? Can we say that, okay, I bought in 30 in 2025 first quarter. Can I bring in 40? Can I bring in 60? If I do something different, can this help me to generate more revenue? Well, if we had a bad first quarter, again, what can I do different? What did I do then that I need to change? So again, that forecasting, helping us to see what could be. If I made 30,000, I'm instantly going to put 30,000 in my forecast, period. If I did it before, I can do it again. I'm going to start there. But with the cost of living and everything going up, and you now having to tweak your prices, and now also understanding the change in consumer buyer behavior, and thinking about the financial climate with what's going on and people losing government jobs and things of that nature, understanding who your audience is, what their spending level has now been set to. You got to think about all these things when you're forecasting. Can you increase it by 3.5%, right? Can you increase it by 5%? Do we need to adjust it a little bit based on those negative things that I just discussed? Do we need to drop it down a little? So maybe I made 30,000 first quarter 2025. I may only be able to make about 24 this year in 2026. And again, having somebody to strategize this with and talk it over with a CFO is important. And again, not being scared to look at that P&L. It's your partner. It's your financial assistant to see what it says to you. And then saying, okay, I can make 30,000 in the first quarter. Is that enough? Thinking about what my expenses were then and what they are now. Is that enough? And does it leave me enough for me to bring these other people on, or to make whatever changes I need to make in the business? Maybe expand my marketing budget, maybe reduce my team. Listen, as business owners, we have to make big decisions and hard ones. Sometimes we got to let team go. Do we have subcontractors that we no longer need, or maybe we need them less? All of these things are questions. And we also, in forecasting, we want to do those what if scenarios. What if this happens? Negative or positive? What if this happens? Negative or positive? Thinking about the risks that may play out, taking those things into consideration, having those forecasts on the positive side, on the conservative side, and on the negative side. Look at all of those things and then determine what you can do. And listen, it may or may not be exact, but you have to make decisions. You can't be so paralyzed in the fact that I may not be able to do it again, that you're not making any decisions. In business, we take risks. That's why we're here. You have to be a risk taker. You listen, if nothing else, bet on yourself, and you forecast and say, I believe that I'm going to have enough to be able to do this, then you do that. In the next quarter, if it's not working, you tweak it again. In the next quarter, if it's booming, you tweak it again. This is just what we do. It's just the nature of the beast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so listen to the story and then using some strategy actually getting out, doing the work, right? And
Right.
bet on yourself. I love that piece. Bet on yourself, because there are so many things that we can bet on, but we know that if we bet on ourselves, then we can succeed. And I am so excited to have had these conversations with you in this series. Toki, you have been absolutely amazing. Any last thing that you want to leave with the audience, and we'll round up these finances and move them right on into 2026.
Yeah, again, I think that you and I both can't stress enough that they can't be triggered by their financial statements. They can't be triggered by numbers or looking at their books. If you're going to be successful, start with working on that mindset to where you're embracing the fact that money is your friend. So the numbers are your assistant and they're going to help you make that money. So that's what I want to leave people with. And just coming away from that fear of having to look at your finances, have a conversation with your accountant, or even scared to walk into a bank because you feel you don't know the language or terminology. If you just know how much money you made, and I don't mean your bottom line, even if you just know, because you can ask people today, how much money did you make? They're like, I don't know. If you just know how much money you made and how much money you spent, and again, the P&L is going to tell you that, and you're in a good place. At least go in with that confidence. That's it. And you can then begin to build on that. You don't have to know everything, but at least know that's something.
Yes. Good stuff, Toki. Well, I know that everybody is going to want to keep in touch with you. So tell us the best place to find you, anything that you have coming up that we need to plug ourselves into.
Oh, sure. So listen, I'm on LinkedIn, Toki Simmons, and you can also see me personally on Facebook. I'm on Facebook. If you want to know a little piece of me personally, I'm there. You can reach out to me on my website as well, Toki Simmons. It's all Toki Simmons across the board. And then my email is cfo@handlemybooks.net.
All right, Toki. Well, thank you. You all stay in touch with Toki and stay in the boutique. We will see you next time on the Sisters Boutique podcast. See you later. Bye. All right, my chic CEOs. That's a wrap for today's episode. If you found value in today's conversation, do me a favor. Subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with another star. That's a speaker, a teacher, an author, or a coach who absolutely needs it. And hey, if you're ready to finally get your systems together, let's chat. Head over to thesystemsboutique.com/strategy to book your systems style strategy call, where we'll map out your perfect business back end. So until next time, keep it chic, keep it systemized, and keep shining like the absolute star you are. See ya.